All right, let's dive into the mind of a true giant of political thought, John Locke. He's the philosopher who, you could say, basically gave us the blueprint for modern democracy. We're going to explore how his, well, pretty radical ideas about freedom and rights literally built the foundation for the world we live in.
Okay, just think about it for a second. What if there were no laws, no police, absolutely no one to tell you what to do? Total, complete freedom. Sounds amazing, right? Or would it just be total chaos? This is the exact puzzle that thinkers have been trying to solve for centuries.
And one of the most powerful answers came from this guy, the 17th century English philosopher John Locke. He came up with this brilliant thought experiment. Imagine a world before any government existed. He called it the state of nature. And by doing this, he could work backward to figure out, why do we even have governments in the first place? What are they actually for? So, what did this state of nature actually look like in Locke's imagination? Well, to really get what he was saying, you've got to understand the pretty grim picture he was arguing against. See, on one side, you had his contemporary, Thomas Hobbes. For Hobbes, a world without rules was a nightmare, a brutal, constant war of all against all. But Locke, he started from a completely different place. For him, the state of nature was actually a state of peace and goodwill, guided by a universal law of reason that basically taught everyone to leave each other alone. So in Locke's view, people were naturally free, and they were naturally equal. The fundamental rule, the one thing you could figure out just by using your brain, was simple. Don't mess with another person's life, their freedom, or their stuff. It was a state of peace, not a state of war. Which, of course, leads to the big question, right? If the state of nature was so peaceful and reasonable, why on earth would anyone agree to give up even a tiny bit of that perfect freedom to create a government? Well, it turns out this paradise had a pretty serious bug in the system. The problem wasn't that people were evil. The problem was that people are biased. When there was a dispute, everybody was their own judge, their own jury, and their own executioner. I mean, imagine trying to play a soccer game where every player is also the referee for their own fouls. It would be an absolute mess. You need an impartial third party to call the shots. So to solve this problem, Locke introduced one of the most powerful ideas in the history of politics, the social contract. This is the blueprint for how we get from that natural, chaotic freedom to an organized civil society. The core idea is actually pretty straightforward. We, the people, willingly agree to a trade. We give up a little slice of our perfect natural freedom, specifically the right to be our own judge and jury, and in return, we get the safety and predictability of a government that protects our rights for us. And for Locke, this wasn't just one single handshake, it was a two-step process. First, everybody has to unanimously agree to form a society, to become one community. That's the permanent part. Then, that new community, by majority vote, creates a government to act on its behalf. Now, this is a brilliant move because it means that if the government fails or becomes tyrannical, you can get rid of it without destroying society itself. You just swap out the government and the community lives on. So this all boils down to one absolutely critical word: consent. Legitimate government isn't something forced on people from above. No, it's created from the ground up. Its power isn't its own, it's just on loan from the people. I mean, this was a totally revolutionary idea, and it is the bedrock of modern democracy. Now, because the government is a creation of the people, for the people, it can't just do whatever it wants. Locke was incredibly clear about this. The government he imagined was a government with very strict limits. You could say it's kept on a very, very short leash. Think of a Lockean state as having a really specific job description. It exists for one reason, and one reason only: to protect the rights of its citizens. That's it. It's founded on our consent, it has to follow the same rules as everyone else, the rule of law, and its authority is absolutely not absolute. It's limited. And that leash is kept tight in a few key ways. The government can't just act against the public good. It can't take your property by taxing you without your consent, or at least the consent of your representatives. And here's the ultimate failsafe. If the government breaks the rules and breaks that trust, the people have the right to get rid of it. This all circles back to his big idea of natural rights. For Locke, things like your right to life, liberty, and property aren't gifts from the government. You were born with them. They exist before politics. The government's entire job is just to act as a security guard for the rights you already have. And this quote from Locke himself just drives the point home with a sledgehammer. The ultimate supreme power
always, always stays with the people. The government's power is just held in trust. And if it breaks that trust, the people have every right to take that power back. I mean, that's the philosophical justification for revolution, right there. So, what does all this add up to? Well, Locke's ideas didn't just stay tucked away in some dusty 17th century books. Oh no, they went out and changed the entire world.
You can literally draw a straight line from Locke's writings to the American Declaration of Independence. When Thomas Jefferson wrote about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, he was basically quoting John Locke. From the French Revolution to countless constitutions across the globe, that core idea that government needs the consent of the governed is a direct echo of Locke's philosophy.
And that brings us right back to today, because Locke's central question is still our question. Every single debate we have about national security, about online privacy, about public health, it's all a negotiation of his social contract. Where do we draw that line? Locke didn't give us all the answers, but he gave us the most important question, and it's one we are all still trying to figure out.